Hi guys. Okay, this video is entirely experimental. We're sitting in a cafe, not having been able to upload anything from our home, so here we go. Now, I'm going to fill you in on Phobos and talking with Brian here, who's actually holding the camera at the moment, and I've got the sun shining in my eyes. It's all good.
But you look quite lovely.
Thank you, darling. Phobos. There have been several sightings here in the southern hemisphere from within Australia. As soon as Brian mentioned it in our last video, we have had comments and people saying when they've sighted what they now know to be Phobos, not Mars, as the powers that be would lead people to believe. And some others are asking why you cannot see it in the northern hemisphere. Well, that's because its orbit is actually in the south, and it is only visible every 4 days, it would seem. Between 3 and 4 days, it seems to take on an average of a 4-day orbit. And it is seen during the setting sun.
So it's coming from the west.
Yeah. It's coming from the west, so it's actually in the opposite direction, isn't it, to the moon orbit.
That's right.
And it's Brian saw it over a period of half an hour, and after that it was gone. It's as if it vanishes. That's because it is seen in the setting sun, and then as it moves, it is going into the shadow and is unseen from that point on. So it looks like it's there and then it's not there. Well, that's because once it escapes the glare, if you like, of the setting sun's rays, then it's in the shadow of the Earth and is not seen anymore. It is it's another, if you like, they're not talking about it, and the bullshit that they're allowing to go up is just that. It is bullshit. Mars on that date, 26th of August, will actually be 197 million miles away from the Earth. The closest that Mars was in the same date in the year 2003, and it was at that point it was 0.378 astronomical units from the
373.
373, sorry. So
45 million.
Or 35 million.
35 million miles.
35 million miles away at that point in time. So they're trying to deceive the population again. If the inhabitants of the Earth knew that this was Phobos that has escaped the orbit of Mars and is in a decaying orbit around the Earth. A decaying orbit means it's getting closer and closer to the Earth. It is not maintaining its orbit and staying in place. It is decaying, so it's losing altitude. It's getting closer and closer to the Earth. And the word Phobos in Greek means fear and terror. And the measurements and everything about the moon that Brian has unfolded, the stars are painting the picture. It's on a straight course for the Earth. So it...
we can knock it out with the sun's glare, so
yeah,
it's not a real problem.
It isn't a problem for Yahweh. Of course, the sun in the heavens is Yahweh's domain. And just like the potential disaster over the Gulf with HARP trying to create an earthquake against the gas bubble, it was knocked out by solar flares. And Brian actually knew that all along. I didn't. So as I'm going, oh my God, because I'm thinking about all of you and yelling and screaming, you know, to get out of there, Brian was quite calm through the whole thing. He doesn't tell me everything because he likes to keep things close to his chest and not let the enemy know what he, as God, has up his sleeve. However, he wants you to know that with Phobos coming in, the same thing. The solar flare can knock it out, no problem. It can be sent wherever we want it. It can be landed, can it not? It can be landed. We were actually contemplating where we'd like to have it land. This is a huge rock, 22 kilometres long, 18 kilometres thick, and how many? It's something like 22 by 18 by 12 or something, isn't it? Yeah, the size of a rock. It's not round. It's quite an odd, elongated egg shape. Probably looks rather like it. I was going to say.
But you dare say it.
What? Don't I dare say it? A giant turd?
No.
I'm thinking about about the big potato at Robertson where I rented a house. At Robertson in New South Wales, they have this big potato. It looks like a giant turd.
Well, with that,
Anyway, those of you who know that Yahweh is here, don't worry. As fear and terror is good in the population, because then they all start getting over themselves and start looking for answers as they realise that the God they've been praying to isn't listening to them. It's not working because they've...
and now this thing was brought to the earth. Let's see if we can
Yeah.
by NASA. They went out there and placed a giant maneuverable rocket that you place against the surface. They had formerly landed on an asteroid and tried the same thing, so that was their test run. And with the moon being knocked out of its orbit from the P-76 comet in 2000, the moon being knocked out of the orbit around Mars, I had calculated it was the escape velocity was 1 meter per second, so it was almost ready to fall out anyhow, and would have come to the Earth on the 21st of December 2012, but they've gone ahead and put this giant Russian engine on it to maneuver it towards the Earth and into the position where it's coming up from the southern hemisphere of the Earth, because Mars is below the Earth in that line, although it is further out. It is a few degrees below. So they brought it in, so that's why it's going around in the opposite direction that you would think it would be running if it was natural. So they brought it in so that it's coming up out of the western sky. It makes it very, very slow, because that is the direction that the Earth is rotating in. So you're losing 1,040 miles per hour at that point in time. So the very slow turning of the Earth at 1,040 miles per hour and the actual movement of the Phobos is quite slow across the surface of the Earth, so therefore they can maintain an orbit which lasts about 4 days and then slowly bring it down and crash it into the Atlantic. That's what they're up to, because they're not going to get away with it. We've already made arrangements about that. So, with that...
I just wanted to say something.
Really?
Well, with the way that the sun is on half your face there.
Oh, right.
Actually, looks like the face of a Shroud of Turin.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we'll see you next bit, guys. See how this one goes. Bye.